And like you, I really found that, finding my tribe, my network has helped me so much. So let's talk about the PETA Business Network because I love them so much. I found them this year, which I found was so funny because I've been a member of PETA forever. And I was just on their website and I was like, oh, this is really cool. I can join. And it was funny because when I told my friend who works at PETA about it, she's like, oh, yeah, I totally forgot to mention that to you. And I'm like, girl, you could have mentioned that before. So I joined it. And like I said, I was started reaching out to all these great business owners like you. And I'm like, oh my God, I feel so seen. Like this is so great. So let's talk a little bit about just, having those alliances within I guess the groups that mean the most to you, because I know you've done a lot of nonprofit work. You're very active in animal charities and animal support groups and rescues. And, what does that look like for you tying that in? Because you're actually a member of the Florida Animal Rescue Alliance.
Yes, yes. Well, that's kind of funny how that whole thing started. But you know, I started the business, and not too long after I started it, another goal that I had was to get back into rescue and working at sanctuaries. And somebody that I knew had mentioned um, another place, a sanctuary around here. So I saw they were having a volunteer event, and I went down um, to join the event. And when I walked in, they were wearing PETA shirts, and I was like, "Whoa, what?" you know. So it turned out it was a vegan, rescue, and I met everybody there, and I just kept volunteering. And so I started, I was looking for somewhere that I could give back to, which there's plenty of places, but that also makes it very overwhelming. So when I got to know them better and I saw their mission, it's comprised of solely volunteers, and it was completely grassroots, and all of the money goes directly to the animals, that I started donating, and I started showing up to volunteer as well. So at one point, Carol, the president, who's also a good friend of mine, she asked me if I would want to join as a board member because one of the board members had moved. So I was like, okay, sure, let's do this. And I think with the marketing experience that I have, I'm helping with that. So, but that's also another, avenue that they know that I am also giving back to the to the rescue. So a lot of other people in our network will buy bags if they need a bag, because they also know a portion of the profits goes back to the rescue as well. So it's all kind of come full circle. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's nice when everything in your life aligns perfectly like
Yeah.
that. So you feel like, okay, I'm doing this and it directly affects that, and then it comes back this way. The same in my business. I look for charities to give to that are doing the work that, I think is important and that also align with you being ethical and vegan. And like we said in the beginning, it's really hard to support a business because you think that they are an ethical, sustainable, compassionate business. And then you're like, oh, they actually have this whole animal side where they are, utilizing leather or selling meat products. And I'm like, no, I can't do that. So
Yeah.
yeah, it becomes a little challenging like that. And I find even with going to restaurants these days, I don't necessarily want to go to a restaurant that simply has a vegan side menu when they're selling all this other stuff because my dollars matter. And, that's something conscious consumers know. They're like, no, my dollars are a vote. They're a
Yes.
choice.
Yeah.
And where I spend them makes a difference. So when we can spend them in the way that we believe, it makes more sense. It's just, oh,
Right.
okay, then I'm kind of living the life. I'm talking the talk, walking the walk, and all of that. So let me ask you a question, because this is my favorite question for entrepreneurs. Can you share a particular success story or milestone, or I like to say win, that you're really proud of since you launched your business, or maybe one you've had in the last 90 days?
I feel like my big milestone, because I have not been open for that long, but it was really reaching that 1 year mark and doing well in that 1 year mark, and seeing in this time that's passed since then, just seeing the year over year growth, that to me was really big. So, because sometimes you feel like, oh, this isn't going, so fast, or oh, maybe it's not going as great. But then you look back and you're like, wait a second. Not only have I been here, I've passed what most, I forget the statistics, but they're very, very high of how many businesses fail in the first year. So once you pass that and then you pass the 5 year mark, I know that's another one. So that was really big to me. But in addition to that was seeing that just it's growing. Like that's really good to be able to see that it's definitely growing. It's definitely on the right track. People like my business, people are supporting my business. So really that's the biggest milestone I would say. I
Well, that's a good milestone, making it to a year and understanding, you took the time and the effort. And once again, like we said, had the patience to make it. And now we're looking forward to the 5 year mark. I think you're right on track, Nicole.